Okay, so you're going to come find yourself in a comfortable seated position today. You can sit on your shins or in a cross-legged position, whichever feels better for you. Lifting your spine up nice and tall. You can take a mudra if you like. Taking a long, slow inhale breath. And exhale to close the eyes. And as you start to listen and connect to your breath, you can also connect into all of the counter-energetic movements, the lifting of the spine, and the softening of the shoulders and the thighs. The smoothing of the skin around your forehead and your eyes. And the very slight lifting of the skin around the lips. Sensation that you're floating up towards the sky and at the same time rooting down towards the earth. Ensuring that the back of the skull lines up with the back of the tailbone. And noticing how you need to lightly engage into the core muscles to find the stability. Connecting to the dual energies of strength and softness, of being active and passive. Feeling as though your energy is expanding into a wide, open space, but at the same time limiting your world to the size of your mat. Setting an intention to stay present in the moment, not worrying about the poses that are still to come or the poses that have been completed, but just staying content to be in the pose that you are in. Exploring each posture as an infinite space, but understanding that the moment is also fleeting and will change. You can keep your eyes closed if you like, as you now slowly release the hands to the floor in front of you and gently melt your way over your shins. On your inhale, gently roll the spine back up to sit, lightly holding onto the knees as you open up the chest, drawing the shoulder blades back. Gently arching into the spine by sliding the tailbone behind you. And then inhaling back into neutral spine. Switch the legs around and exhale to gently forward fold. On your inhale, again, slowly lifting yourself back up, lightly holding onto the knees, and then lifting through the chest, arching into the back. Draw the shoulder blades a little bit closer together, and even start to push your lower jaw forward. And then inhaling back into neutral spine. On the inhale, float the hands overhead, hooking the thumbs as you spread your fingers wide. Draw the shoulder blades back and down the body. Inhale, leaning over to one side, sliding the hip to the earth, and reaching the fingers over to the side. Inhaling back to center, and then arching to the other side. Try to separate each rib cage, so each individual bone in the rib cage separating from the next. And then inhaling back to center. Draw the hands behind you, interlocking fingers. Roll the shoulder blades together to straighten through the arms. And then reach your hands down to the floor, allowing the neck to lengthen slightly. Lift through the heart center, but be mindful not to arch the back too much here. Trying to keep this movement into the chest and the front of the shoulders rather than the back. Just gently release from here, coming over onto hands and knees. And flowing yourself through cat-cow pose. Working into the dual activation of front and back body. So as one side lengthens, the other side activates. Switching over to the opposite movement, lengthening the opposite side of the body and squeezing in through its counter position. Breathing deeply. Come back to your neutral spine, pointing the toes on the mat. Inhale to drop the belly down into cow pose. Exhale to round the back into cat. Stay in cat pose, lift onto the tops of the feet, drawing the knees to the sky, engage the core, and then exhale the knees back down. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, knees up. Exhale, knees down. Flow at your own pace. Let's take one more round. And coming back to neutral position. You're now going to bring your elbows down to the floor, bringing the palms to touch. Let's straighten one leg, squeeze into the thigh, and then straighten the other leg behind. Lift into the shoulders and draw the pubic bone slightly forward, breathing into the space. Remember to work into dual energies of active and passive. Taking one more breath here, and then slowly lowering the hips down towards the floor. Separate the hands shoulder distance wide and open up through the heart. Keep reaching the toes back so the legs are not lying doing nothing, but are extending the body longer. Puff open through the heart center and slightly draw the elbows into the ribs to feel that activation of the front body. On the exhale, release your body all the way down, hands under shoulders, and sliding back into child's pose. You can have knees together or wide. Bring the hands next to the hips to relax the shoulders. Try and settle your torso in between the thighs. And focusing your energy into grounding into the mat. At the same time, you're using your inhale breath to separate each bone in the spine. Feeling the vertebrae lift and lengthen. On your inhale, bring the hands out in front of you, rounding into your back as you lift into tabletop. Floating right hand to the sky. And then exhale to thread the needle, lowering onto the right shoulder. Press all 5 fingernails into the mat. Press your left hand into the mat to help twist the chest to the sky. But be mindful that the knees and the hips are still at the same space. Often the toes come together here. See if you can keep your feet behind your knees. Really anchor into that left hand to twist the chest a bit deeper. And then inhaling, coming back into tabletop. On your next inhale breath, taking the left hand to the sky. And exhale to thread the needle. Firmly anchoring through both hands, the back of the left hand and the palm of the right. Draw the knees evenly into the mat and notice how that shifts the energy into the middle of the rib cage. And then inhaling, lifting back up to center in tabletop. On the inhale breath, lifting right arm and left leg into spinal balance. Squeeze into the back heel as you reach the fingertips forward. Become very light in your supporting hand and knee. Let's reach back to hold into tiger curl, lifting the foot, lifting the chest. Creating a lovely smooth arch for the back. On the inhale, extending the arm and leg again, and exhale to release hand and knee to the mat. Taking up left arm, right leg. Point the toes at the floor. Point the palm towards the midline, and then reach in opposite directions. On the inhale, taking the hand to hold the foot, and lift your chest, lift your leg. Keep lifting out of the supporting hand and knee. And then gently extending. Exhale to lower down. Coming back onto the elbows again. Palms touching. Straighten through the opposite leg first. Squeeze the thigh. And then coming back into your forearm plank. Separate the shoulders but avoid creating tension into the neck. Slightly lift the pubic bone, but avoid creating tension in the lower back. Press the heels away and reach your head forward. Let's slowly lower the hips all the way down, separating the hands as wide as the shoulders and opening up the heart into Sphinx. Puff open through the heart center. If you want to, you can float the elbows off the floor, coming into seal pose. Breathing into creating space in the front body. Gently releasing all the way down and making your way back into child's pose. And have the hands forward or next to the hips. And again, breathing into the spine, making it longer, but also broadening. Lifting now into downward facing dog. Walk the hands slightly forward, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back. Keep the knees bent for a moment to help straighten into the lower back, straightening into the middle and upper back, opening the shoulders away from the ears, and then sinking one heel to the floor at a time. Connecting deeply to Ujjayi breath. Sinking both heels to the mat in your downward facing dog. Let's float the right leg to the sky and then roll the ankle a few times. Change the direction of the ankle roll. And then stepping your foot forward into lunge. Lift through the heart, slide the hips down. Very light onto the fingertips. On your inhale breath, step back into downward facing dog. Let's inhale the left leg to the sky, rolling the ankle clockwise, and then rolling anti-clockwise. Let's hug the knee forward into lunge, sinking the hips low, lifting the chest high. Really squeeze into that back leg, making a straight line all the way down the back of the body. Let's inhale, stepping back into plank. And then you're going to walk, step, or hop yourself to flat back at the front of the mat. Opening up through the chest. And exhale to forward fold. On the inhale breath, lifting the hands wide, and you come all the way up into Tadasana. Let's interlock the fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb, sliding the shoulders back slightly. Inhale up onto the tips of the toes. Lift the heels a little bit higher, pressing into big toe and baby toe evenly. Exhale the heels down and forward fold, hands down the center of the body. Inhale, lifting halfway up, and exhale to fold. Stepping your right foot back into lunge, opening up through the heart center. Let's step back into plank, engaging into the core. Lowering right elbow, left elbow into forearm plank. Sinking the hips down and lifting the heart up into Sphinx. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips back up, forearm plank. And then lifting right hand, left hand into high plank. Round into the back as you float yourself downward facing dog. Breathing deeply into the space. On the inhale breath, taking the right leg to the sky and stepping the foot forward into lunge. On the inhale breath, lift the back knee to the chest, standing tall. And exhale to release into Tadasana. Inhale, float the hands up. Interlocking fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb. Lifting up onto the tips of the toes. Getting as high as you possibly can. Really engage into the calf and core. Let's exhale the heels down, hands through the midline, the forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And exhale to fold. Stepping the left leg into lunge, float the chest up, hips down, and then stepping back into plank. Let's lower left elbow, right elbow into forearm plank. And then lowering the hips, lifting the heart into Sphinx. If you'd like to, you can take the elbows off the mat into seal. And then exhale, releasing yourself down. Bring the lift the hips off the floor first into forearm plank. And then bringing left hand, right hand into high plank. Let's slide back into downward facing dog. Breathing into your down dog. Going to inhale the left leg to the sky. And then stepping the foot forward into lunge. Inhale the back knee up to the chest, standing all the way up. And then releasing the leg into Tadasana. Breathing here. It's inhale, hands overhead. Interlocking fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb. And then start to bend into the elbows, pressing your head against your forearms. Be mindful of not overarching into the back here. Create expansion without compressing. Inhale up to center and exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And our exhale, plant your hands firmly into the mat. So bend your knees if you need to. Get your hands flat into the mat. Start to press the weight into your hands as you lift up onto your toes. Feel as though you could lift your legs straight to the sky in a handstand. From here, we're going to lightly hop back into plank. breathing into plank pose. Take it into a side plank on the right. You can simply drop the heels to the right side, or you can stack one foot on top of the other. Square the hips, lift open the heart. Take a supported side plank if that's more appropriate for you. Let's drop the hands down to the mat, into plank, and over to the left. Finding engagement and lightness. Releasing both hands to the floor in plank pose and choosing knees, chest, chin, cobra, or chaturanga, up dog. Making your way into Adho Mukha Svanasana. On your inhale breath, taking the right leg to the sky and stepping the foot forward into lunge. Open up through the chest, and now bring the hands forward to float the back leg off the floor, warrior 3. Square the hips, kick your back heel away. You can keep the fingers on the floor or bring the hands to the shin bone to lift a bit higher. If you feel comfortable to balance, you can bring the hands at the heart. On your inhale breath, draw the back knee up to the chest. Breathing deeply into the space. Making your way into a dancing Shiva by twisting towards the thigh. You can either hold onto the knee, bringing the left hand back, or you can hold onto the front foot, extending the leg forward. Let's inhale, return to center. Bring the knee to the chest, hands to the heart, lifting as tall as you can. And then gently releasing the leg back to the mat. Tadasana. Inhale, hands overhead. Interlocking fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb, bending into the elbows, and pushing your your head against your forearm. Open up that chest. Let's inhale, lift, and exhale down the midline to forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. And exhale, folding the hands flat to the mat. Maybe step the feet back a little bit to give you more space. And then press the hands into the floor as you lift into the heels. Separate the shoulders. Engage into the core. Feel so light in the legs that they could just float to the sky. And then you're going to inhale to hop yourself into plank. Let's take it into side plank, starting on the left this time. You can stack the feet, bring one in front of the other, come into a supported side plank, or even lift into a starfish. Come back to your high plank in the middle, and then over to the right. Choosing any alignment that works for you. Find lightness and activation. Let's come back to the high plank, making your way through knees, chest, and cobra, or chaturanga and upward facing dog, making your way into downward facing dog. Connect to Ujjayi breath. Let's inhale the left leg to the sky and stepping the foot forward into lunge. Reach your head away from the heel and keep reaching it so much that you then just float forward into your warrior three preparation. Hands are under the shoulders so that you can lengthen your torso. Maybe bring the hands to the shin bones, or maybe bring the hands to the heart. Let's float that back knee up to the chest. Using the bandhas and your strong leg muscles. Taking it into dancing Shiva by either holding the front knee or the front foot as you twist to face your right. Let's inhale to the center, hug the knee to the chest and the hands to the heart. And gently releasing from here back to Tadasana. Breathe deeply. Moving into Utkatasana now by bending the knees and sliding the hands up to the sky. Work into lower belly. From here, let's bring the hands behind, interlocking the fingers and opening up through the heart. Keep finding neutral into lower back. Start to forward fold, keeping the lock in the hands. You can soften the knees if you're still feeling a bit tight, or allow the legs to straighten as long as there's no discomfort in the lower back. Bringing hands down to the floor, make sure they're nice and firm against the mat, and start to lift onto the toes, shifting the weight into the hands. Broaden through the top body. Let's float back into downward facing dog. We're now working into super dog, which is bringing the elbows to the floor at the same time. So turn the gaze forward at the thumbs. Be mindful to lower the elbows at the same rate. Dropping to the mat. Now engage into the core and lift the elbows off at the same time. Let your neck relax. 2 more rounds of super dog, being very mindful to lower and lift at the same time. Try to avoid doing one elbow and then the other, which is much easier. If you want to challenge yourself a bit more, you can bring the hands closer together, deepening the intensity into the shoulder. And then let's release the knees to the floor and bring the hands next to the hips in child's pose to relax the shoulders. Rolling yourself up to sit on your shins, moving into dolphin pose now. So you're going to bring the elbows to the floor, crossing the palms so that you touch the outer edge of the triceps. Palms are going to join together I prefer not to interlock the fingers. I find this creates tension. Creating a longer hand will help to alleviate some of the tension in the neck. Wrap the elbows towards each other, but open the shoulder blades wider, tucking toes and lifting the hips to the sky. Slide your chest towards your thighs, and then maybe walk your feet in a bit more. Open the feet wider for less intensity, and closer together for more intensity. Keep working the chest back towards the thighs. Breathe deeply. On your next exhale, gently lower the knees down, hands next to the hips, child's pose. You take 2 more rounds of our dolphin pose. If you want to lessen the intensity, open the feet nice and wide. If you want to increase the intensity, we're going to lift one leg up for the first round and then the other leg up for the second round. You can choose which leg you prefer to lift first. We're aiming for a minimum of 5 breaths here. Slowly lower yourself down to child's pose. And let's take the final round. Gently lower yourself back down, resting the hands next to the hips to relax the shoulders. And then making your way into downward facing dog. You won't hold down dog for too long. I know the shoulders are feeling a bit tender. Let's take the right leg up and then swing the knee forward for pigeon pose. Slide the back foot a little bit further back, lengthening into the torso before lowering onto the elbows. You can stay on the elbows, or you can stack your hands, resting your forehead to the top of the hands. If you're happy to go all the way down, you can release the hands in front of you, interlocking fingers pointing pinky and forefinger. Make sure your hips are square and that you're rooting your back leg back and your head forward. Connect to Ujjayi breath. Slowly lift yourself back up to center, sitting into your right hip and bringing the left foot forward. Adjust your legs into Janu Sirsasana. So your straight leg is in front of your hip and your bent knee is out to the side. Let's square the shoulders in front of the shin and forward fold. Try to square the shoulders, square the ribs, and lengthen your torso. So not rounding the back to reach the head to the knee, but trying to imagine that your chest would come to your shin if you were able to elongate the body enough. Let's lift up halfway, bringing your right hand to the outside of your foot, ankle, thigh, wherever it reaches. Left hand behind you, and then gently grip into that front hand to rotate to look at the back. Gazing forward, take the back hand to cross the ankle and gently forward fold for a second round. On your inhale, roll yourself back up to center. Cross the ankles in front of you and then roll over onto the tops of the feet. You can step or hop yourself back into downward facing dog. Taking the left leg to the sky and hugging the knee forward into Kapatanasana. Slide the back foot a bit further back, lengthening into your torso and moving your way step by step down into your reclining pigeon pose. We took a mudra on the last round, taking a mudra again. We often just completely let go in this pose, but we still need to keep activating the length of the body. So from crown to toe is reaching forward and back. Slowly lifting yourself back up to sit, sitting into the left hip as you bring the right leg forward. Adjust your alignment here, opening the hip to the front of the mat, square the shoulders as you forward fold. Notice if you're collapsing either side of the rib cage and try to lengthen into that space. Let's lift up halfway, bringing the left hand to the outer edge of the foot, ankle, shin, wherever. Right hand behind, grip into the front hand to twist towards the back. Looking over the front leg again, cross the wrists, and second round of forward fold. Inhale to lift yourself back up to center. Going to bring the knee to the chest and extend both legs forward. Let's start to roll to the floor. Rounding into the back and engaging the core all the way down. Hug the knees into the chest. and gently flatten through the lower back. On the inhale breath, you're going to interlock your fingers around your big toes and kick both heels up to the sky. For some of you, your knees will be bent. For others, the legs will be straight. Either way is fine, as long as your lower back and middle upper back are all pressing against the floor. So you want a nice firm foundation into the spine. As the legs straighten, you can slowly start to draw them down to the chest, but constantly trying to plug back down through the lower back. So instead of lifting the lower back off the floor, try and anchor down, engaging into the space. On the inhale breath, open the left leg all the way out to the side without letting the right hip roll off the mat. So the top leg is stabilizing the movement. Let's inhale to the center and then over to the other side. Let the left leg stabilize as you open and extend the right leg to the side. Inhale back to the center, now opening both heels out. Kick your heels away from the midline and now start to curl your tailbone in, trying to get your toes to touch the floor either side of the shoulders. Got to work into the core muscles to help lift. Keeping activation into the inner thigh, press those heels away. See if you can lift the core a little bit more. Keep the legs where they are, lift the chest. Trying to get the top and bottom of the spine to loop around in a big circle. Gently releasing the head from here, bring the legs together, knees to chest. Opening the arms into a T shape and drop both knees over to one side. Maybe placing your hand onto the top thigh. Start to soften your body here. Softening your energy. Return to center and dropping over to the other side. Feel a gentle release wash over your whole physical being. Rooting and relaxing to the earth. Come back to the center, take the knees into the chest one last time. And then making your way into Shavasana. Spreading the feet, lengthening and broadening the back, reaching the hands out at about a 45-degree, slightly rolling the shoulder blades in, slightly tucking your chin in, smoothing out the skin around your jaw, your forehead, your eyes, releasing your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Take a long, slow inhale. Hold the breath and sigh. Keeping your eyes softly closed, slowly start to deepen and lengthen your breath. Gently running your thumb over the tips of your fingers, moving your toes, your ankles and your wrists, drawing your feet together as you extend your arms overhead, taking a deep, energizing stretch, yawning or sighing. Bending your knees and rolling onto your side. On your inhale breath, lifting up into a comfortable seated position. Drawing your hands together at your heart center in Anjali Mudra. Let's close the class by chanting Om once and Shanti 3 times. Taking a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raising your hands to your third eye. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Lowering your hands to your lips, to your heart, to your mat, bowing forward in recognition of your practice. Blinking eyes open, inhaling to lift. Namaste.